Well, well, well. I'm Leslie Odom Jr. I'm so excited to be here with you virtually tonight. Wish it was in person, but it's going to be such a fun half hour. You won't be sorry. You won't be sorry that you were here. Listen, because I have with me my very, very talented friend, former co-star. We're going to have a chat about this incredible limited series that you just watched, Genius, ARETHA. Genius Cynthia Erivo. Join me in welcoming Emmy, Tony, and Grammy winner and double Oscar nominee Cynthia Erivo, who stars as the Queen of Soul herself, Aretha Franklin. You did it again. You did it again.
Thanks, babe. Thank you.
How are you? You look beautiful tonight. How you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm like half in character, half not, which is why I'm not like with everyone tonight, but yeah, I'm doing good. It's busy and it's hectic, but it's nothing that I wouldn't wish for. So.
You're so stunning in this part. My goodness.
Thank you.
I don't know which part of ARETHA they've just watched, but I treated myself to a binge and I just finished watching the final episode. So yeah. If you guys didn't make it, if what they showed you was just the first part or the first bit of it, the illusion, the magic trick really isn't complete until you get to that final episode, which there's in a series full of wonderful work. I think that the final episode, for my money, is just, and I don't know why it's for my money. I didn't pay for any of it, but for my money, it is just stunning. Revelation, just a real self-revelation. And I just love your work. You just, you change and shift your energy in such a beautiful way. And I think that one of the things, I saw it in Harriet, I saw it with another marathon of a role, with ARETHA, is just like, I don't know. There's something about your consistency. Like the audience really, we can latch on to your commitment. There's something almost meditative about the way that you work in that way. That like, I know that you're going to push through whatever doubts you may have, whatever challenges come your way, you are pushing through. And by the end of this mini series, I felt the same way that I felt at the end of Harriet. I was just really, my breath was taken away by your work.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, man, it's just like, it was a long travel. It was a long journey to get to the end of this, and I was sort of having to temper where she was, and I guess in a way I was kind of discovering her as I was going along. There's only so much you can know until you start doing it, and there would be days where I would discover something and be like, oh, this is why she has this sort of lilt here. This is why she speaks quietly in this moment. Oh, now I understand why in this part of her life, she sort of comes to life. And whenever you see her, she's sort of really alive and busy. It's because now she understands who she is, and now she understands what she wants. And I think it took me a while to understand that, which was right, because that's where she was in her life. It took me a while to understand that she was discovering who she was as she was going, and only really truly sort of landed in the late 70s, 80s, and realized, oh, this is what I want to do. And when you hit those like late 70s moments where she's deciding to go and do some disco in Las Vegas, or when she's deciding to, I don't know, do like music with George Michael and Annie Lennox, that's when she's just sort of doing what she wants, having fun. And you can see it, like, and in the way she wears her clothes, and the way she wears her hair, the way she speaks to people, the interviews she does, and all of that sort of diminutive nature, which was there in the beginning, which is how she was, very shy, painfully shy sometimes, apart from when she was in the studio recording. That's why it comes. Before, she sort of trying to figure out what it is. And it takes her a really long time to know. And I think I just was on that journey with her.
Oh, you find it and land on it so beautifully, and it's plotted. That arc of who she is.
Yeah.
It's just it is delivered. So in such a satisfying way for us as an audience. Did you guys shoot in order?
We did shoot in order. Yes, we did. Yeah, we shot 1 through 8 as it was going. Yeah, I think there are a couple of times where we were shooting consecutively, so we were shooting like 6 and 7 together. But pretty much all in order, which was very helpful. Yeah.
That's very helpful. And I'm so, because of course, because it's such a magic trick, I'm like, how did they do that? How did they do that? Because, by the time you get to the end and you have traveled so far, it's like, how did she, keep her place in it? And I really wanted to know, how it blossomed. You couldn't have said it better about how you discovered who she was, along the way, the same way that she did. It's so beautiful. How did the role come to you? How did ARETHA find her way to you?
ARETHA found her way to me, sort of in a weird, strange way. I was at the Tonys, I think the year before, like the very last Tonys that we had done, and I was supposed to be singing that night, and on the red carpet I was asked to sing one of my favorite songs, like a guilty pleasure song, and my guilty pleasure song was Ain't No Way. So I started singing it, and that video of me singing that song went to Brian Grazer and Clive Davis, and they sent a message to my agent saying, hey, I think she might be able to play ARETHA. And I was like, okay. I took a second. I thought about it. I was like, okay, what does this journey look like? Because I know it wasn't going to be an easy one. And sort of thought to myself, well, I welcome the challenge. Yeah, both for me as an actor and me as a singer. Yeah.
I love that. So not much hesitation in taking it on.
No, because I think that I find the most satisfaction comes from the things that are often the hardest to figure out. Like, I like a good challenge. And I felt like this would teach me a lot. If it was just, and there are those jobs that feel really easy and it flies by, and that's lovely too. But this felt like I would gain something from it. It would not just, people saying nice things, but I would gain from being a part of this particular journey. I would learn from it. I would grow from it. And that's what I really wanted. Yeah.
Where do you begin? Where do you begin for once you say yes? Where do you truly like, okay, let me start,
I began with interviews. Because I'd been singing her music so often that I kind of wanted to just leave that alone for a second and come back to it with fresh ears. Because previously to that, I was singing it as me. So singing Aretha Franklin's music as me. And I wanted to stop doing that and reapproach it as her with her choices. So I left the music alone for a little bit. I went to interviews. I went to some of the earliest interviews I could find. I went to pictures. I looked at a lot of images. So there's that wonderful image of her. I think she's like 15. Well, is she 15? She may be older than that, but it's not very old. She's maybe like early 20s in a leotard and tights.
Yeah, I love that picture.
That picture. I went back to like that picture. They're like little video clips. There's a really cool clip of her coming down off a plane in a cute little sort of netted mini dress with a big beehive, and it's like bouncing all over the place. It just is like really, it's an ARETHA I haven't seen. So I sort of looked for the ARETHA I hadn't met before. So it meant looking at, there was this one really cool interview on a game show from the 70s, and she's wearing an all denim outfit with platforms on, and she can't walk in them. She's shuffling in these platforms, and it's sort of like in a space where she's dealing with her weight, and she's a lot thinner than we're used to seeing her, and she sort of like shuffles on stage, and then when she sits and has to ask questions, she's supposed to answer these questions with yes or no answers, because they're supposed to guess who she is. And when she answers these questions, I think they guess correctly, and then there's an interview that follows after, and she barely breaks out of the yes no answers. And she's quiet, so much so that the interviewer starts going. And I just was fascinated by the progression of those interviews. And then you break forward into, there's another interview where she's got the orange hair now, and it's like, it's just after Sparkle, and she is in this sort of brown two-piece, and she's asked if she's in the film, and she says, I would like to be, but no, I'm not. And I keep finding these moments because I feel like they are insights into how she thinks, who she is, and how she's feeling, and how comfortable she is with the person. She lets people know just enough to know who she is, but never all of it. And then she pulls back again, until then you follow that through to the 80s, where she's like in the house, letting people into her parties, and now she's cooking food for people, and she's on shows saying things that are like sort of untoward, and then you move right through to what we know and love, and that's where we name her Shady Aretha. But actually it's just someone like well within her rights to do whatever she pleases at that point. But I love watching these interviews because there was a real progression about who she was and where she was coming from and what she had been and what she was. And so that's what I went back to first. Then I started listening to music, and I listened to go ahead.
Yeah, when you start that process, when you do approach the singing again, I know singing is a difficult thing to talk about. Singing is meant to be heard and understood in that way. But could you talk about how you then, what do you learn about her voice now, knowing this stuff about her psychology, and how do you turn Cynthia's gorgeous voice into Aretha's gorgeous voice?
What I learned about her is that she makes very specific choices when she's singing. And sometimes they're off the cuff, and sometimes they're planned. But what they will always do is tell the story in the most effective way she could possibly find. So instead of rushing through a note, she might wait a beat, where we or someone else might go straight through it and carry on to the next. She'll hold and make you wait where it doesn't make sense to wait. Or she'll like eke out the note to the very nth degree, rush the next note and move on to the next. Like listening to all of those little tiny breath choices that she would make, it's very different to what I would do. Sure. I always, and I've done this before, my favorite song there are two songs. One of the songs I had to learn, I found really difficult because there was no time signature at all. It's called Never Grow Old. It's on her Amazing Grace album. And I was petrified of learning it because there's no guidance at all. It's like, it's a free-for-all for her. She knows the basic melody, and she says, well, I'm going to, because that's what she did, she would compose. She could make music without having to actually read it. And it feels like when she's singing this song, she's making it up from scratch. Yeah. But there is thought behind it. Yeah. She makes you wait for those. The first words are, I have heard of a land on a far away land. Right? Those, very simple. She makes you go, I have. Well, you're listening now, aren't you? Heard of a land all far, far away. strand. Now, the wonderful thing in that is that it's not just a faraway land. It's not just a land that's on a faraway strand. This is a place that is miles and miles and miles away. It's more than far. She repeats the word far. She decides that she's going to repeat the word far and live in that phrase for the longest time. And we're only at the start of the song. And I realized that she would do that in so many of these different songs. You're All I Need to Get By. Like a sweet morning dew, I took one look at you, and it was plain to see you are my destiny. Why would you end on that note? Why that note? Well, it's because now you're hearing the word destiny. It's just, even when it's off the cuff, she's making the choice. And I had to, like, whenever we would have a song, I would sit for about an hour or two just breaking it down to its like barest bones so I could put myself in there. I knew that there was no point trying to make my voice sound like hers, but I knew that a connection could be made if I could understand what the choices were and why she was making them and where they were supposed to take the listener. And I think that I learned, though I knew that storytelling was the primary focus when it comes to singing a song, communicating a message, I also understood that making specific decisions to carry people with you is very different also than just telling the story so that they can be in the story with you. And I think that's something that she does really beautifully.
That's so well said. Wow. Can you talk about your hair and makeup, costumes?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that collaboration and how that aided, if it aided?
Yeah.
In your
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Hair and makeup. So hair was done by Terrell Mullen. Makeup was done by Corey Moreno. They are like brothers to me. They basically do everything with me. If you see me on the red carpet, if you see me do a show, it's their work. It's them. They do it. But the wonderful thing about both of them is that they're also very well versed in the history of music, in the history of singers, what they look like, the style of the day, the makeup, all of that stuff. And Terrell has been working on makeup for, I don't know, now on 12, 13, 14 years at this point, more than that. And both Terrell and Corey have a love for ARETHA. Corey made all the wigs himself. He colored the wigs himself. Like everything was hand done. All the references were very specific. Everything was in chronological order in our makeup trailer, so they would always look and reference. We'd always make sure that we had the right thing, from a headscarf to the afro to the coiffed Farrah Fawcett orange hair to the black long wavy hair in the 90s to even the choppy hairstyle during Ness and Dorma. Like that was like they looked for everything specifically to tell that story. And honestly, when you have the clothes and the hair and the makeup, it sort of ties everything together. And so I can sort of erase me and see her because she and we're very different people. We look very different, but the smallest thing, like a hair color change, makes me feel like her. Jennifer, who did the costuming, so much research, so much work, so much time. She pulled from real references. She would use from the pictures. She had a printer who would make the fabrics that were used in some of the pieces that ARETHA would wear. So for that Amazing Grace episode, it's an episode with Martin Luther King, which I think is episode 3 or 2, where she's wearing that lime green with feathers. That is a real piece. The very first piece you see her in that silver dress is a piece that's real. That Amazing Grace, those 2 Amazing Grace pieces, those are reprinted fabrics. That costume that she's wearing in rehearsal, reprinted fabric to make it look exactly like her clothing. It's just so much time, effort, and love was poured into the way this looked. I can't even. I couldn't be happier. It made for everything to work together. Yeah.
Talk about Aretha and her activism. It plays a
Yeah.
part in the story. What?
Yeah, I don't know that people really realize how much she leaned in on it and how early she leaned in on it. I think it's probably the first time she really found purpose in her music. I think it's really the reason she found, I think, the strength to become an owner in her music. I think that she wanted to say something. It wasn't enough just to sing songs. It wasn't enough just to make music that made people dance. She wanted to make sure that her music stood for something, and also that she could help in whichever way she could. I think she understood that she had a level of success that others could only dream of, and so made a decision quite early on, 60s really, to use that for good. Whether it was to work with her friend Dr. Martin Luther King, or whether it was to try and help to bail out Miss Angela Davis, or whether it was to create more music that Black people could see themselves in when it came to the Young, Gifted, and Black album. She was consistently trying to advocate for civil rights, for the rights of Black people, for the rights of Black women, whenever she could. And I don't think she ever stopped, to be honest. I think to her dying day, she was still very heavily working within that. Yeah. Even, I mean, the song Respect, I think she turned it into something different. And I think like many women, even if they don't know it, have used that song to garner strength. Yeah.
What is the genius of Aretha Franklin? How would you describe it?
I think that the way I would describe Aretha's genius as multifaceted. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's both the way she made music, because she was, for all intents and purposes, I guess a savant in that she didn't need to look at music to play it. She could hear something and play it back to you. She could compose and find notes that others could not.
Yeah.
And she was essentially a concert pianist without training, which is unheard of. She really could play that way. And I think people really don't realize the extent of her piano playing. So that is part of her genius. Her songwriting was almost second to none. There are songs that we hear to this day that we don't realize how much input she had in. The kismet and the connection that she had with her sisters to enable her to create music was very special. I think there's a genius in that, to be able to create this sibling cyclicalness, I guess. There's a roundness in it that they were able to create music consistently. And the way she was able to sing, it's not just the fact that she had a wonderful voice, it's the fact that she was able to make that voice travel really far. I was, a kid in the UK who knew very well about her, knew a lot about the music that she was playing, but then there's a kid in South Africa who knows about her, and someone here in LA, and someone else in Norway. The world over knows about Aretha Franklin because she was able to really make connections with people. It's very unheard of that the same person who did a duet with Lauryn Hill does a duet with George Michael, but also will go and do a duet with Annie Lennox, and also can come and do a duet with, it's just this, with Ray Charles. It's really unique to find someone who can do that. And then on top of that, to marry that all together, and then be able to use that for good, be able to really put herself in a space that will allow her to encourage those of us who want to be a part of it to look at our civil rights, to look at our Blackness, to be brave in it. It's really special. I think that's where the genius is, to be a Black woman of that time, from the 50s really, making the music that she was, understanding that that connection was a special one, that good things could come of it. It's a very special thing. And I could go on, to be honest. I could. I think there's a lot about her that makes her the genius, you know?
You said you spent 6 months or so and change because of COVID, so you spent 6 months as ARETHA. You've had some time out of it now.
Yeah.
You returned to Cynthia.
Yeah.
You said you said yes because you thought that there was something you could gain.
Yeah.
What did you gain?
I gained a lot.
To process it?
Yeah, I gained a lot, and I guess I'm still like learning. Even like in this conversation today, I'm learning things that I didn't realize that I found, and it's, the storytelling, as I was talking about how she communicated, the way she used her voice, the way she would use music. That is a new thing for me to really like extrapolate and understand and filter. But I also just learned about the confidence of it all. I learned about being able to ask for ownership over certain things. I learned about not being afraid to go, well, actually, this is how I'd like it to be. And I was in the process of making an album whilst we were doing it. So I was also learning about what my voice could do, how much it could do. I was also learning about the industry and how to make sure that I was in a good space to create the work I wanted to create, and not take no for an answer, and not take anything that was substandard. And so that sort of like followed me around now. I can't get her out of my head. Like, it's what she wanted. Yeah.
There was a match made in television heaven. Wow. Beautiful work, my friend.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to see the secret project that you're working on right now. Is there anything coming out that's not secret? Is there anything we should look out for that's not secret? There's a beautiful album out right now.
What's not secret? I mean, Pinocchio's coming. I don't know when. It's coming soon. This album is coming in September.
Yes.
There's a couple of things, hopefully, and there's a couple of films and series that I'm like looking at, contemplating and working on. So yeah, there's some things.
What a gift, what a wonderful time right now that, that there's, it's a gift to be living in this time, that there's so much work for you to do, so many, of your colors that we get to see. It is, it's just so wonderful to continue to watch you reveal parts of yourself and discover in front of us. Thank you, Cynthia Erivo. Next time, let's do it in person. I want to tell everybody watching,
yes, please.
I don't want to mess this up. You can watch the rest of the series. Make sure you make it to that final episode. It is incredible. Watch the rest of the series on Hulu or on Nat Geo's FYC site at natgeotv.com/FYC. I'm Leslie Odom Jr. Thanks so much.
Thank you.